Oh, what is going on, everybody? My name is Japes. Welcome back to another FIFA 21 video. A few weeks back, I told you guys about my favorite changes. Today, we've got access to the full game. Shout out EA for that. But I'm playing my placement matches, and if you've not played yours yet, go out and do it. Please go out and do it. They are so important this year to give yourself a nice little coin boost. You can see my squad here in the background. It is a 4-3-3-2. Sometimes I play with a 4-3-3-4, depending on the situation, and a really nice, I'd say, elite Bundesliga team to start. So maybe beyond really nice. It's a great Bundesliga team to start things off, and I did use some FIFA points, and I'll tell you all about that in this video. So without further ado, let's get into the gameplay. So our first opponent that we come up against, he's got a decent little squad, in fact, a little bit of a hybrid. Good for you there. Surprising. Hybrids actually way more reliable now at the start of FIFA because fitness cards are no longer a thing. But he is undoubtedly outcomped. I have the elite suspects from the Bundesliga, and Robert Lewandowski this year actually really quite good. Maybe it's just the beginning of the game, and you know, true meta elite players haven't quite been risen to the surface yet. Actually, I shouldn't say that, because the Leroy Sané, you saw he just scored with his weak foot, and I mentioned in the last video that I did that I was scoring a lot of goals with Griezmann's 3-star weak foot. Weak foot, you could score if you're in a good position to score with the weak foot. You can absolutely score with the weak foot, but to the point of meta, Leroy Sané is without question the best player that I have used so far. He's the standout player in the squad for me. He's not the highest goal scorer, which is Robert Lewandowski, but he is the most challenging for my opponents to defend, and that's because in the attack, pace matters. But pace matters differently than you might think that it would in previous years. For attackers, acceleration feels really important, which is why Serge Gnabry's low sprint speed didn't really bother me. I just didn't find it to be something that I was like, oh, he's getting caught from behind. What is this about? It just wasn't that big of a deal. And defensively, my favorite center back that I used out of all the Bundesliga center backs, and I should note before I start talking about this, if you have questions about Bundesliga players in particular, you can leave a comment, you can tweet me at AirJapes, you can pop into my Twitch stream, which usually I stream Saturday mornings, and ask me questions. I love interacting with the chat, and I love answering your questions. Not quite as much as I love welcoming people to the Chip Life. Welcome to the Chip Life, Serge Gnabry. But it's a close second for me. But Zula, really low acceleration, surprisingly high sprint speed, especially with the shadow, and I play a super high line. Those of you guys that, well, all of you guys didn't see any gameplay from me on YouTube last year, but I played a close to 10 depth line for the majority of FIFA, and I don't plan on going away from it. I like playing an aggressive defensive style, and in order to do that, you have to play a high line, so 8 or 10 depth, that's where it's at for me. And Nicolas Zula didn't get caught out even with his low pace, but it's because he has high sprint speed and plenty of room to potentially catch up to attackers. You just have to be smart about how you're controlling and positioning those players. And of all the Bundesliga center backs that I've used, I'm talking your Klosterman, Alaba, Hernandez, Inform Upamecano, Nicolas Zula was the standout for me. He is big-bodied, and that seemed to matter, and I put weight on that, and that's important. I like having big center backs this year, so something to consider. Second match against FC Wakanda right here, and this guy was actually really quite good. He probably, level playing field, equal teams, he would have given me one heck of a game, and he was fluid with his movements, and he'd clearly put a lot of thought into this starter team. For those of you guys that are working on a starter team style budget, Tyson and Alex Teixeira are monsters. I would definitely consider getting them in. They were truly handfuls for me to defend this year. You can see Sabitzer plays a nice pass into Lewandowski, and this is just I included this because it's just a bad habit for me on FIFA. I tried to juke around the goalie like I might have last year to shoot near post, and this is frankly not how you finish this year. That was the wrong option. And so, you know, rather than getting frustrated, I would encourage you guys to be like, aha, in that situation, that is not the move that I should be doing. I've got different moves. Manual heading, that there from Robert Lewandowski. You'll love to see it. Crossing to the far post and scoring a header. What year is this? It's a new year in FIFA 21, but Lewandowski's card I found quite, like, he's definitely a lethal finisher. He got into good positions and he was able to hold up the ball well. And, you know, in this 4-3-3 as a striker, I still use the false 9 instruction on him, though I found that wasn't getting the most out of him, and he probably wouldn't be best in that situation. When I played the 4-3-3-4 with Marco Reus or Sabitzer in behind him as attacking mids and him more as like a true striker, he seemed much, much better for me. So take that for what it's worth. Nice pass there into Leroy Sané. For those of you guys that are like, Japes, what's the meta formation this year? If you guys are thinking about constructing your team, I personally think that the most meta formation will likely end up as a 4-1-2-1-2 narrow. I think fullbacks attacking from width work pretty well this year, and with the way midfielders tend to make runs, and how easy it is if you can pass straight past the midfield, the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow means that you're able to just like counter wildly and quickly and really exploit opponents. So I think that's going to be something that's, you know, to watch with a close eye. You saw Sabitzer scored a goal right there, and quickly want to point out here, this is the point in the game where you got to compare value for players as you're thinking about constructing your team. And when I look at two similar-ish players that I have in my squad, both as box-to-box CMs, I have Goretzka and I have Sabitzer. And I couldn't actually tell the difference between them more often than not out on the pitch. So what I'm saying is, if you're looking for a box-to-box player, Sabitzer actually better going forward, and no slouch defensively, not great, but no slouch. And if you're playing in a 4-3-3, Sabitzer, man, what a great player. Definitely a budget option and something to consider. Now, I know this isn't Path to Power. I'm like, some of you guys are like, Japes, are we going to see Path to Power? What's that about? Path to Power, I don't think works in the current incentive structure that FIFA is played in. And what I mean by that is Path to Power used to be all about switching squads, switching formations, trying new stuff, keeping it interesting and trading your team, trying to move forward. FIFA for the past few years really kind of incentivizes you to play with your best team at all times, and you know, because champs rewards are so good, and to try to get better with that team and stick to a formation that is meta enough that you're going to have enough success in weekend league. And that doesn't bode well for Path to Power. And frankly, I think it's just challenging. So no, to answer the question, likely not a Path to Power. In fact, I will say for sure not a Path to Power this year. Now what that does mean though, is I would very much like to and will put out formation reviews and tactics, because I do still switch those quite a bit, as well as specific player reviews if I think that the player is, shall we say, like interesting and worthy of the review. I'm not going to put out reviews on players that I don't find interesting or that I think might be bad just for the sake of it being, you know, some type of meme or something like that. I like want to put out player reviews that I think are good and informative, and tactic reviews that help you guys really have more fun with the game. I think that's ultimately the goal for me with creating content, is like, does this add value to someone's overall FIFA experience? And if the answer is yes, then I'm into it. A little bit of tiki-taka right there, Leon Goretzka. Don't mind if I do. And I will say, you can pass super, super fast. Finesse shots also very much a thing, but I know some of you guys have been thinking it. I know you're looking at the squad and you're like, Japes, how many FIFA points? How many? The answer is 24,000. I put $200 into this game, and if you're like, holy smokes, why on earth would you do that? Don't give that money to EA. I don't even think that, like, that's a ton of money to spend on FIFA for me over the course of an entire year. You know, if I'm playing, we'll say 400 games, and you say you play 4 games in an hour, 15 minutes a game. So you're playing essentially 100 hours of FIFA over the course of the year. Look yourself in the mirror. You and I both know that's not including all the time you're spending on the menus. And for me personally, if you're playing weekend league, you're probably closing in on 1,000 games. But for the sake of argument and easy numbers, we'll keep it there. Now, the 400 essentially equates to $2 per hour in one of, if not my favorite hobbies, pastimes, forms of entertainment. If I double that and say I play 200 hours, it's $1 per hour. And that is just, frankly, like, to me, I get more fun, to use an economic term, more utility, more enjoyment out of using good teams, better players, and frankly, more of the high-end players. And so for me, it makes it more fun. So I also get really hyper competitive. Like, I'll be realistic with you guys there. I will undoubtedly end up matching up against pro players. I don't expect to win, but I enjoy giving them a game, and I want to try to compete when I can. Not to say that I like get mad or when I lose, because ultimately, like, I just like playing competitive FIFA, get that competitive soccer, football, footy fix. But you know, I want to be able to do my best, and we accomplished that in these placement matches. So 5 wins means we're taking home a cool 124K that we will be able to invest and hopefully grow our coin total. So if you have content requests, leave them in the comment section down below. Other than that, I want to say thank you guys all very much for watching. My name is Japes, and I will catch you all next time.